And when you find him, you find him and you find yourself. And I feel like that's what happened. I found him, I found myself, and then through that, out of knowing who I am, I found great direction. Instead of just telling people what I did or trying to figure out what I was doing all the time. It was like, no, live from who you are. Let me tell you who you are, and then you'll know what to do with that. Instead of just trying to be something.
Hey everyone, welcome to the What's Your Life Journey podcast. My name is Kira Miller. I am the founder and host of this series. Every other week, we'll bring you life-giving conversations that will help you to discover and embrace your true identity, to see that you are not alone in your pain, and inspire you to overcome your battles. Thank you for joining this conversation today. Now let the journey begin. Hey everyone, welcome back to the What's Your Life Journey podcast. My name is Kira Miller. I am your host, and today's guest is Laney Redmon, who just loves sharing about Jesus, and we are really excited to have her on today. All right, so in the car, we talked a lot about, I would say, forgiveness, and like what you said, what that looks like for you, forgiving people in your life has just been like being able to surrender that fully. And really going to the Lord and being like, I don't want to have this bitterness towards people anymore. And can you just like maybe talk kind of about what that looked like for you in your life with like forgiving people and stuff?
Yeah, I feel like, it's different. Like you're around people every day. So every day we're faced with an opportunity to have a relationship with somebody and forgive them or, hold a grudge. And we're human, so we all mess up. And I think the biggest thing for me is realizing, hey, like I'm not perfect. And there's going to be so many times that, especially with your close friends, the people who know you really well, you're going to walk through things together that you're actually going to be the one that needs the forgiveness. And I just think remembering that I am not perfect. And there are a lot of times where I need forgiveness myself. So that allows me to forgive them because we all need grace. And I also think it's a choice. What do you want out of the friendship? Do you want to be right or do you want relationship? And I think there's a part of all of us that we all want to be right. If we have made a choice to do something, obviously for some reason, whether it's built off of something true or built off something that's a lie, there's some reason we believe in it. And that's why we've made our choice. And so it can be hard to humble ourselves and be like, hey, like, I know that I made this decision, or I know that, I shared something that was none of my business to share, and that was yours to share. But hey, I goofed, and so we have to come to that place of, I'd rather relationship with you than to be right. And, but I also think it takes both of you being at that place, and sometimes you're going to have friends that may not be at the same place as you. And so that's what we were talking about. Like, you have to go where God is leading you and in love. And so even though, like, I don't think I've ever come to a place where I was like, oh, I need to, like, cut this person off in my life. I like that a lot. Never. I never want to cut someone off because God has never cut me off, But I do think there is something to, okay, God, you're leading me in this direction. And if I'm going here and someone, and say a close friend even, maybe they're not at that place. Maybe they're making some decisions that you're not really fully in agreement with or whatever. You just keep going where God is leading you and he will take care of that. Like, if there needs to be separation, that'll just naturally happen. But you don't wake up one day and be like, I don't love you. No, you just keep loving and you just keep going where God is taking you. And God takes care of those friendships. And that way, down the road, a lot of times you come back and you and that friend are actually closer. Because you've walked through different things in life and you've had time even apart. And God's spoken to you each directly to where you come back and you're like, I actually do want relationship with you more than I want to be right, Right. So that was kind of a long.
No, I love that a lot.
Answer, but
the being right thing though, because I think growing up when I was like in friendships and stuff, or just any sort of relationship, I always wanted to be right because it was more of an insecurity thing. But now as I've grown in the Lord specifically, I just know that he wants me to live from a place of truth. And sometimes that means that I'm not right.
Sometimes it's not being right.
Yeah, it's not.
Literally just being real with where you are. Yeah.
Because like what you were saying, it's the difference of being transparent and vulnerable. And, well, I don't know if, there is that difference. But like for me, being vulnerable now is like living from a place of truth. Because for me specifically, like I think I lived from a place of lies for a long time, whether it just be like believing lies about myself or like white lies to a person or like bigger lies and stuff.
Yeah.
And now I just feel like the Lord is like, no, you're living from a place of truth and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt, but you're living from a place of truth and you're going to see the fruit of it.
Yeah.
And now as a result, like, I think I liked what you said where you have to go where God is leading you because that's where he's telling me to go is just truth. And I've seen like the people in my life now do the same with me. Or they're like ready to grow in that too.
Yeah. And I think it's cool how God puts like truth and love together. And
Yes.
and like when you are truthful with someone, whether it's something that's really hard to hear or not, there's so much love in that, and they feel so loved because someone cared enough to actually tell them the truth. And so whether that is something that it doesn't mean it's always right, as far as like, I think there have been times when I felt something and I've shared it with a friend of what I thought to be true, and I may not have been right on of what was happening, but they felt love and the fact that I just cared enough to tell them what I felt or what I saw to be true.
Yeah.
You know, and so there is that like vulnerability in getting to know what is actually true about the situation.
Yeah.
But you both have to be honest enough with what you believe to be true in order to find what is actually true.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So in your life specifically, when you talk about truth, like, do you feel like there was ever a time in your life where you like lived from, I don't know if lived from a place of lies is like the right question, but like, were there ever certain things like negative voices that were feeding into you? And if so, what are they saying to you?
Oh yeah. I think that's also a daily thing for me. I have to get in my word every day. And if I don't, things really get foggy for me. And actually, like yesterday, was that yesterday? It was either yesterday or 2 days ago. I was driving down the road, and I feel like there's a lot of things lately that I've been kind of working towards and in my like job, and I have like this clothing brand that I'm working on and music I'm working on, and then I love to blog and just kind of random things. And I was driving down the road and I had this thought of like, is anything actually working? Like, are you actually being productive of anything? And but I knew that when I had that thought, it was a thought of fear. And it wasn't I immediately knew that it wasn't Jesus because it brought me fear and it brought like death to my mind and my spirit. And so I was like, I'm like afraid all of a sudden. And I actually just recently, it's kind of funny, but I just got new glasses and like actual glasses. Yeah. And I was wearing my glasses that day, and I felt like the Lord said, Laney, I am your glasses and I help you see life clearer. And so when he said that, I literally saw, like, I was thinking about everything in my life, and I saw just his name, like, I don't know how to explain, like 3D glasses. Yeah. And you like see that blue and red. I literally saw, it was like that, but it said Jesus. And I was seeing everything. It was like a zoomed out version of my life, and I was seeing everything under him. Wow. And everything changed immediately. In my car, I just had that thought that brought, it was fear. Yeah. And then immediately Jesus was like, no.
Switched it.
I cover everything. And and I was able to see him like just in my day to day. Cool. And so I think it's a day to day, like what you're asking of a time when like I think of I'm rooted in lies or whatever. I think I have to root myself every day in his truth. Yes. And sometimes for me, I'm very like, I have to like focus on one thing. If I read something, I read it over and over. Yes. I have to read it over and over
until
again.
It really sinks in.
Until it really sinks in. Huh. Yeah. And so I have been just like reading the same thing over and over each day. And if you like allow yourself, your mind will go, well, why can't I comprehend more?
Yeah.
Like, there's always that voice of the enemy that you have to know the truth in order to cover that thing with you have to know, you recognize the lie and then you cover it with this truth. Yeah. That's the only thing that actually destroys it. And so, I feel like I've had a lot of different things in different seasons of my life.
But right now, it's
lies.
The work stuff.
I mean, lies all day long. Yeah. I think we all we have a million thoughts a day, And so what are we actually focusing on?
Yeah.
But for me right now, I think it's just really embracing the season I'm in and a lot of investing right now. And I can't say that I'm seeing everything come to fruition, but I have to trust and see God covering where I'm at, and know that there's a lot happening that I can't see, in the physical. But
when you talked a lot about embracing the unknown now in this season, you've kind of always had
I
to
feel
do
like
that
that's
in
just
your
been my life, honestly, is really just embracing the unknown of what's happening. Yeah.
So talk about that. You didn't really grow up in a systemic kind of.
Yeah. So I grew up, I homeschooled all the way from when I was 5 till through high school. Okay. And so I would go to school with my friends just for the sake of having fun, but.
So not a co-op.
No.
Just you'd
no,
actually
I'd literally,
go to
it was called shadowing. So I would go, I would be I'm checking out the school. But I hope no one sees this, but I was actually never checking out your school.
Right.
I was just there to hang out with my friends. And but every time I would go, I'd be I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I loved homeschooling. Huh. But that really allowed me to do a lot of things that I was passionate about. And that was a lot of things. I tried pretty much everything growing up.
Yeah.
I was praying about what I should do. And all my friends were going to college. And I was I really don't know. I have a lot of things in my heart that I would like to do, but I don't really know exactly where to go right now. And I was actually in my room, and I remember laying on my floor, just oh God, I have no idea. All my friends are going to college and it's going to be fun. And here I am with no plan. And I just graduated high school. And I felt like the Lord just told me to serve. And it was one word, but it was simple. Sometimes I need the simple stuff. And so I started working at Chick-fil-A and working as a nanny.
Okay.
And 3 months after working at Chick-fil-A is when God opened the door for me to start backup dancing. But what I was saying is none of that was planned.
Right.
None of that was
you had never taken training, right?
No,
for dancing?
Well, I mean, I grew up dancing and singing, but it wasn't necessarily a lot of people are on competitive teams and they travel and they I was never technically trained. I only knew hip hop. That was it.
Okay.
Which I loved it, but I hadn't technically been trained. And so I just know there are a lot of people that and I have so much respect for them that just train for their entire life, and they audition after audition, and it takes lots of dedication. So this is in no way saying don't do that, but I do feel like God was so faithful in what do you want me to do now? And it was never really what made sense to our minds. Most people wouldn't get ready to backup dance by going and working at Chick-fil-A. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
But that's what God told me to do. And through that, then I started taking drop-in classes, and I did work hard, but I know it wasn't really by me working hard. It was truly there's a saying that God qualifies the unqualified, and he truly took everything that I was unqualified for, even sitting here right now, I'm so unqualified, but God is so faithful that he uses the things that he never really imagined him using and goes, hey, let me actually, that's going to be your greatest moment. My time at Chick-fil-A, driving there every day was, I didn't mean to rhyme when I said that.
You did, didn't you?
But it was sweet time with him. And I don't necessarily want to go back and work at Chick-fil-A because this is where like I'm thankful for where God has me now and I love it. But I also miss it too because it was sweet times with him that really not knowing what was next, you know, really I had no idea that God was going to do that after working there 3 months.
But simple too,
but he was there, you know. He was in that season.
Yeah.
And so I've seen him carry me literally from, you know, homeschooling all the way up, doing things differently, like but each step my family just kind of prayed about it and said like, okay, Lord, what now? And that's flowed into my season I'm in now, and it's a everyday, you know, God, what do you have for me? So it's definitely been embracing the unknown, but with him has come a new known. Like he is my known, and there's rest in that, and like so much peace. So
so in the different seasons of your life, like how many years would you say kind of are like in the different seasons of your life? Because for me, it's like it almost seems like there's a chapter of like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say that. I was going to say maybe like 4 years.
Yeah. Well, that's what it seems like. It's almost like
it like happens.
Well, and for me, I do this thing like a word of the year. And I like learned that from a friend. And so I've been doing it and I love it because this year I feel like God really told me to give, which is essentially like serving too.
Yeah.
But I have to fully give myself in whatever way he tells me. And so like for me this year, it looked like baptism and it looked like financially giving.
You got baptized?
Yeah.
I got baptized this year too. Yes, I did.
That's wild.
That's cool.
Wait, was that your first time?
Yeah.
No way.
It was. Yeah.
And you like grew up in church
I did.
too, right?
Yeah.
Sick.
I know, shocker.
Yes, right?
That's like my favorite thing though. I love shocking people with that.
Yeah.
Because that's another.
Wait, talk about that.
That's another thing that I didn't do like.
You didn't have planned out?
System. No.
Yeah.
And I think at times it can be kind of like a touchy thing for people. Like you got saved and
you've been a Christian.
Why did you like, wait, how did you not get baptized until, you know, now? But I honestly, being super honest, I feel like the Lord told me to wait.
Interesting.
And a lot of times I didn't understand that, but I didn't understand it until literally this year. And there was so much I had just like walked through that in the last few years that was so hard, and just really experienced Jesus like I never had before. That it was like I saw him now in the way it was time. And I actually went to Israel in January and with my parents, and so it was actually the coolest thing.
So you did it there?
Because I got baptized.
It was
so
like cool.
Not only was it cool like in my life, like in my like within me on the inside, but God made it so cool on everything on the outside as well. But my dad baptized me, which was super special.
Pure.
Yeah, in the Jordan.
Love that.
It was like
in the Jordan.
Yes.
Oh,
it
man.
was awesome. I
so cool.
just boohooed the entire time. Yes. Yeah, it was so cool. And like even just some of the things that like I had walked through before that, I didn't even realize that my dad knew where God was like leading me now, kind of like we hadn't really like talked about it, but it was cool. Like when he baptized me, the stuff he spoke over me was so only stuff that the Lord could have told him. And it just in every way God was in that. And so I think there's so much to asking the Lord what is for you. Obviously we have his word to go off, and if you hear something that doesn't match up with his word, well obviously like you do what's in his word. It's there, but what you hear from him will be backed up by his word. And and so I think it's just taking it a day by day thing of God, what is for me, you know, is going to college for me, or is pursuing music for me, or is, I don't know, whatever it may be. Like it's, God will take care of all those things if we just embrace where he's actually leading us instead of what everyone else around us is doing. So
do you feel like there was ever a time where you followed your own path instead of God's? Because for me, I can think of like one specific thing that I did.
I was in like a relationship for 4.5 years that like there was really nothing, like I couldn't really understand with my mind why I didn't have peace. And so I was always trying to find my peace in our situation rather than just realizing that there was a reason that God was leading me somewhere else. Yeah. And I always tried to back it up with my mind rather than just what he said. And so it kept me in the relationship, I think, longer. And him, like I held him back, I'm sure, from what God had for him because I wasn't being obedient. Like I heard one thing and I literally, it's so crazy. I was praying about whether or not like we were supposed to stay together. I literally heard the Lord so clearly on it. And I was like, I had this like big moment. God like spoke directly to me, gave me like the most clear even song, fastest song I've ever wrote in my life. I walk out the door from this whole thing and
you go back.
And I go back. And I was like now I see clearly, and it wasn't long. Like it wasn't long after that it ended up ending, but it was still of God. You had
sign of disobedience.
I see now, like you had so much that you wanted to give me freedom wise, like just so much that you wanted to show me, and you knew I wasn't ready for what was happening there, and I was holding on so tightly that I wasn't able to receive what you were trying to give me. And so yeah, I definitely have done that before. And I wouldn't recommend it, but
well, you probably don't regret
but I
it,
have.
right?
I don't regret I don't regret it because God used it for good.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
He makes our biggest mistakes our greatest things in our life ever. I believe that with my whole heart. Yeah. But I do know that like I was prolonging something that he wanted to give my heart, you know? So, and it wasn't physical. Like, when I say that, it's not because I'm like engaged or anything. Right. You know? No, it was freedom and it was joy. And there was a lot of things that I was holding on to in my heart that God wanted to heal. And without letting go of that, I couldn't truly be healed. I was like so consumed with it that I couldn't see anyone else around me. I couldn't see what I was going.
You couldn't really hear God.
I couldn't hear
God's voice.
I could hear him, but that was like he was saying that over and over. And because I wasn't listening to that, it was almost like I couldn't hear anything else he was saying because he wanted me to do that first. Yeah, you know, and I was just prolonging the process. So
once you actually did obey,
once I did, okay. Like? So the first like month was, I would say, horrible. Yeah, but
painful.
So painful. Most painful thing I've ever walked through. But now, full circle, 1.5 years later, I can now look back at it and say it was the best season of my life. Not because good things like happened, but because of what God has done with that pain. And I, walking through it, I would have said like, that's not possible. You know, I would have said, no, that's not going to happen. But now I can see his goodness in it. So breaking up, we broke up, and a month goes by. I'd actually just moved. So I moved 10 hours away from my family and didn't have a job. I literally like quit everything that had been my life for the past few years.
Just to kind of like put it in the past?
Felt like God was saying just let there was a lot, like that was an incredible season. God used it. It was so good. I miss it.
Time to move on.
But it was like God leads us to like, I don't know, he's always moving us forward. And that was an awesome season. But like I also felt like he was like, okay, like that dream and that season is just closed. Like it's time to step into some new things. And as much as that was scary, and I didn't have a clue what that was when I let go.
Because that was like backup dancing and stuff too, right?
Yeah. I was backup dancing for 4 years. And it was incredible. I loved it. Like I miss it so much, but not in a way of I want to go back. Like in a way of God, that was such a good season, but now you're doing something else, you know? So I quit everything, quit my job. I remember waking up just like what the heck am I doing with my life? You know, I'm in a new place, away from my family.
Embracing the unknown.
I don't really have any friends. Embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
Here's that like repetitive thing. We're back.
Too.
We're back. Yeah. God always leads me back to that place. And so I remember just being like, what the heck am I doing? And in that, literally, like, I feel like I had my fist just clenched on everything. It didn't start that way. Like, God led me there. Yeah. 100%. But there was a time when he said let go that I kept holding on. And so here I am, like, holding on so tightly. Things are getting harder and harder, more painful. Yeah. And then when you finally let go, there's so much pressure because you've been trying to hold on so tight, you know? And everything just like shoots back, you know? And so here I am. It's almost like
it doesn't just like piece away. It like strips apart.
It does. It's almost like fully. I literally just saw, like, you know how you have like a big piece of bubble gum and you're just like blowing the biggest bubble ever, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger than you ever thought it could, and then all of a sudden it's just like pop,
and it like goes all over your face.
Yes, and it's all over your face. That was me. Get that visual. Analogy. That was literally me. Right, and everything in my life is now covering my whole face. Right? I'm like, all right, what's going on? Yeah. But that's what it was like. Yeah. And I just remember just times of waking up and sitting in my room, and it was just me and Jesus. I had nobody else to turn to. I literally was like, I have nothing. Yeah. I have nothing that I thought I had, but really I had everything that I needed. Yeah. And Jesus just became so real to me. And like I said, I grew up in a Christian home. Yep. I have times when I can remember as a little girl, God being so there, like so there. Yeah. But this was a time that I was like, whoa, like I can't, you know, that peace that surpasses all understanding. I've never understood that, but I like am understanding what he's talking about now, because everything in my life, in the physical, what everyone would see, what I would see with my eyes, looks terrible. Like it just looks awful. Yeah. But somehow I have this peace that I cannot explain to anybody. Yeah. Except for that it's supernatural. And so that's what my life looked like for a little while. It was like every day, like, okay, God, here I am. What do you want me to do today? Yeah. It looks like it's warm outside. I guess I should wear, a short sleeve shirt. That's all the plan we got. Yeah, yeah. You know? But then that's when the Lord just started just showing me things with the clothing brand, and opening up doors that I never could have opened myself for that, and showing me what that really looked like, and kind of just this theme through everything that I've been passionate about. It just was like starting to click, you know? And for a while I felt like I was just kind of all over the place. Yeah. But that was because I was holding on to things for a long time that I didn't need to hold on to. And then when I let go, everything's all over my face. And I'm like, where do I go? What do I do? But I felt like he was like, okay, do this. And that thing just kind of led to another thing and another thing and another thing. And suddenly the common thread is the unknown, but there's this known now. There's Jesus. It has a name. The known has a name. Yeah. And it's been a new journey for me of just embracing where I'm at. And taking it one day at a time. And so people even ask me, what do you do, or what are you doing now? And it's kind of the hardest question for me to answer, because I don't
like that question.
Do you want like a 30-minute answer, or like how much time do you have?
Most people want like a 2-minute version.
They want a one word, like they want a title. They want the Instagram version. Yep. And there's comfort in the Instagram version, you know?
It's easy.
It's easy, yeah. And that was me for a while. Yeah, people would ask me, it was so easy to say, oh, I'm a dancer, you know? But really, every time I said I'm a dancer, it was just creating more and more insecurity in me, because I knew that, yes, I love to dance, but that's not where I find myself, you know? I don't find myself in this clothing
So you were like starting to identify yourself
with
as
what
a
I was doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. 100.
And then you actually got lost in that, honestly. Yeah. Like your true identity.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole, like, we were doing ministry, like, that's what I love the most out of it. But as far as like the the cliche answer.
Yeah.
The simple answer, I'm a dancer, was just it was every time I said it, I just got heavier and heavier, and it was you're not a dancer. You're not a dancer. You love to dance, but that's not who you are, you know?
Yep.
And you love to sing, but that's not who you are. And fashion,
it's a piece of you, but
it's something that I've given you to pour out who you really are into. And
I love that.
And so, yeah, through that, I feel like I've been reading the scripture that talks about whoever lays down his life for my sake, will get it.
Yeah.
I'm totally messing it up, but he'll give it back, and you'll find yourself. And when you find him, you find him and you find yourself. And I feel like that's what happened. I found him, I found myself, and then through that, out of knowing who I am, I found great direction.
Yeah.
Instead of just telling people what I did or trying to figure out what I was doing all the time. It was no, live from who you are.
Yeah.
Let me tell you who you are, and then you'll know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to be something. So.
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't remember what your original question was.
I don't think there was one. You're doing great, though. Well, it's crazy because I think there have been 2 instances in my life that looked not exactly the same as that, but very similar, where I was I'm going to hold on to this thing because I know it's right, even though God is no, that's not right at all. And I was listening to my own voice and my own thoughts about everything. And I kept going and I kept going. And finally, I think God just stripped both of those things away from me. And it left me completely laid bare. And the one thing left me so alone and broken. But that was when I was in the midst of it, I hated it because I was I'm so alone and I'm so broken and I can't talk to anyone about it. Yeah. I'm truly alone.
Yeah.
But then there was no other person to turn to, which is what you were just saying. There was no other person to turn to except for God.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
It was the only one.
That's all you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you realize now is all you needed.
I know.
But it takes getting to that place of him being all you had to realize he was all you needed.
Yeah. And sometimes I think he has to take all of these other things around us and strip them away. And it sucks. It's painful. But when you get to the other side of it, you really do see the beauty in it. And I'm really starting to try to see the beauty in it right now as it's happening rather than just on the other side. And that's actually that's kind of partially why I started this podcast, because I want to talk to people about what are you going through right now, and let's talk about the beauty in it.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're right now you specifically are in a season of embracing the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
and I'm realizing more and more though that's my life.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's embracing. That's what I was saying. This past year, I almost feel like I haven't even been aware that I'm in the unknown, because throughout my life, that's just been the thing we keep going back to. God always brings me back to this place of you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And I just want you to be completely dependent on me. And so that's the knowing him, knowing myself, and then knowing what to do, you know?
So would it ever be a challenge for you if it was the opposite of that? If it was not embracing a strategy, but what if someone placed you in a situation and they were you have to come up with a strategy or whatever?
Yeah. No, that's really hard for me. Yeah.
Because I'm a strategic person, so the opposite is very hard for me.
No, that's really hard for me because I'm I live from who I am.
Yeah.
So much.
Cool.
Whether that's in a good place or a bad place.
Yeah.
I'm going to live from who I am. And so, if you just give me something to do, it's really hard for me, which is actually I went through a season where I was acting a lot.
Okay.
So I was going to auditions and stuff. And I remember one day just being I don't want to do this.
Really?
Why do I keep going and putting myself in this situation? I love acting. I really do. I'm passionate about it. But there was this thing of, I don't like people telling me what I have to act like, you know? How can I just be myself right now? And I can't do that because I have a script, you know, which I've I was in a season, honestly, of just not really knowing who I was. So it was not knowing who I was plus acting like someone else isn't the best mix. So I feel now I would be able to balance it better and actually just enjoy it. But I definitely am one to live from within.
That's so cool.
And so, to just go off a strategy or someone telling me to like even with dance, if I were taking a class and they were having us do moves or something that I was like, I am not about that life.
Really?
Oh yeah. I would like completely just like check out,
Really?
to a point where it was like, okay, Lane, like actually act like you're in here right now,
So when people are teaching you and stuff, is that what
Yes, because I would go and take a class.
That's incredible.
And it would be advertised as one thing, and then you get in there and there's a few extra moves that you weren't planning on. And I'm like, I'm not about to do that. Like, yeah, right. I'm not doing that. And so then I would just completely just be like, I would just check out, So I'm not good at
checking out.
I guess I do. Yeah. I'm not good at just doing something for the sake of doing it. Like I have to have a purpose for it.
The intention.
And yes, there has to be intention behind it, which is why with like the clothing and stuff I'm doing now, like for a long time, I was like, I love fashion, but like I need like a purpose behind it. Like, what am I actually going to do with this? What is it going to change, or how is it going to help somebody, And I didn't have that for a while, so therefore I just didn't do it, So
talk about now that you're doing it. What does that look like?
So now, well, the Lord just gave me 2 Corinthians 5:17. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new, been made new. And so I go to thrift stores, Plato's Closet, like all those kind of places, and get old clothes and cut it up, paint it, and make it something new that somebody would actually find valuable again.
That's so
because
cool.
That's what Jesus does with us. He takes the things that people find useless, don't want anymore, that are dirty, and he makes us new. He makes us wanted. And so the clothes have words on them that are, whether it's, a verse that means something to you, or just something that God has spoken to you, or somebody just encouraged you with. And I paint that on the jackets and just cover people with truth, with life. And so that's where the purpose comes from now. And it's actually what makes me want to do it more, and I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm like, I'm not passionate about painting. Like,
interesting.
To be honest.
So it's one of those like mundane things that you kind of just have to do.
What makes me passionate about painting is knowing that I'm actually potentially changing someone's life right now. We're covered with things every single day.
Yeah.
We've all been told what we can't do at some point in our life. We've all been told how we're seen by people, or how we see ourselves. Maybe you see yourself ugly. Maybe you see yourself as a failure, and or just not loved. A lot of the jackets just say you're loved. And so it's a tangible way of putting on, this is what I believe, and this is what God has said over me. And no matter what I'm covered with today, by everyone around me, by the world that I live in, by my friends, so-called friends at school maybe, or at work, today I choose to believe, to put this on, because this is what he has said. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what I do with it.
Because like, it's really cool too, because every day we make a choice of what to wear. And like we all look through our things and are like,
that is such a good point.
What are we going to wear?
Yeah.
So
it's like, what do I believe? What do I choose?
Yes.
That is so cool. Oh, I got to remember that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Because now it's like, okay, I do choose the truth today, and so I'm going to wear the truth on me.
Yes.
So are there any like really cool stories that people have shared with you that maybe you could share?
Well, yeah. My own story, honestly, is where it started. So I know that one the best. So I'll share that one.
Yeah.
But for me, when I was walking through a couple years ago, the Lord was using Psalm 23 a lot in my life. And just started speaking out loud, I will fear no evil, which is from Psalm 23. And so I made a jacket that said fear no evil on the back. And I noticed that when I wore that, it was almost like it was just sinking a little deeper in my mind, because every time I put it on or took it off, I was reminded that I will fear no evil. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Even in the presence of my enemies, I will fear no evil.
Yeah.
And so it's that moment where it's like, this is coming to life for me. And that just changed. I noticed how it changed my countenance. So suddenly, even I was standing a little taller, because it was like, wow, like
the confidence.
I may have thought all of my life that, I should fear evil, or evil actually has a place, and can take me out. But my God said that I will fear no evil because he is the one protecting me. And so, yeah, I would say just
That's
that,
so
like,
cool.
it when you have something tangible, at least for me,
I think for most humans,
I'm such
probably.
like a visual person that if I have something that I can hold on to, that I can feel and touch, I'm like, oh, it's real,
Yep.
And so it became real to me then when I actually physically covered myself with that. So yeah, I get a lot of messages from people just saying, when I like read that, or when I was, it covered me with what I truly believe, but yeah, it's been really cool to see how God has used something that's just, it's your clothes. We all wear clothes every day, but he can purpose in absolutely anything, so that's been really cool.
All right, so talk about how you come up with the like the quotes and stuff, or the Bible verses that you put on there.
It's so creative.
Yeah, right.
I basically just sit down with my paintbrush and my jacket or whatever I'm about to create, and I say, God, what do you want this to look like? Because I really, they're all different. And the reason they're all different is because, just like we relate to different people differently, we relate to how God speaks to us differently, I think. And so sometimes we need to hear different things, and we're all walking through different seasons of life. And so you never know who's going to actually need what they need for it to say. And so they all say something different. And sometimes it's things that I'm like, does that even make sense? But then it'll sell so fast. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, that's so cool.
Maybe
like, God, you
so. Natural,
it didn't make sense in the natural, but God knew what they needed more than I did. And so I've noticed in my life, obviously we've talked about this a lot, but even something as simple as that, I can't plan it out every day. Like I can't decide, a whole line in advance what they're all going to say. Like I have to sit down and say, God, what do you want to say? Because that's the whole vision of this. That's the whole purpose of this. It's yours from the beginning, and I want it to be yours to the end,
That's awesome.
So it basically just looks like sitting down and going, okay, what is this supposed to say? What is this supposed to look like? What do you know that person wants to wear, and then I just do it. And so, and even for me, like growing up as a homeschooler, I didn't take like art class. So the fact that God is so funny, like you end up doing things that you never thought you would end up doing.
Right.
And painting is definitely that for me. Like I didn't grow up a painter. And so now I'm like, part of my job is painting, which is hilarious, But it was the same with dancing. Like God will prepare you when the time comes for whatever it is that you need for that thing. So
do you ever see a person and then like automatically through either knowing their story, or like maybe you don't even know their story, maybe you just like saw them and you felt like God was pressing on your heart that like you need to create a line for this,
that thing?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to think about when that has happened though. There have been times when I felt like, oh, I'm supposed to give this to somebody.
Okay.
Like
when you've already created.
Yes. I actually did. What did it say? I'm trying to remember what it said, but there was I remember sitting down one morning and the Lord just brought somebody to my attention. It was a person rather than a saying at first. And then it was like just praying for them. And then I felt like he gave me what they needed to cover themselves with.
Really cool.
Yeah. So, and I just sent it to them. And so, yeah, I would say for sure.
That's
sometimes
cool.
It's a person, sometimes it's someone who's just like, oh, this person, they need to be reminded of this.
Yeah.
But it changes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think one thing I'm realizing too lately in my life is like the simple things are what are like of God. And I think we try to make things
overcomplicate it and spiritual. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And like
that's so cool to hear you say that.
Because for me, when I go back to my life, it's like what has impacted me the most? Like, how has God spoken to me the most? And it's through stories. And I tried to figure out what that looked like in my life. And I was like, I have no idea what it means to be a storyteller. I don't know what that looks like. People do it.
That's what people relate to.
So many different ways.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I was impacted by stories growing up, always, still am. And now I'm like, it didn't make sense at the time, but now it makes sense, like kind of in that supernatural realm. Is like, it makes sense because that's what I was passionate about growing up.
Yeah.
Without really knowing that that's what I was passionate about. And it's simple. That's the thing is like, so I mean, for you, when you say you like did dance, but you didn't really paint, was it something you were ever passionate about, like drawing? Or
I've just
like
found that like I'm passionate about sharing. There's this video of me. I feel like it always goes back to like when we're young. A lot of times, like that's when you're like the most original self. You know,
your childlike self.
And I had this video of me when I was a little girl, and we had a karaoke machine. And I don't know if my mom was like, whatever you want to say or something. And I walk up, I pick up the mic, and I say I, and then I look to my right, and then I say love, and then I look to my left, and then I look to the front, and I say Jesus.
No way.
And I was little. I was like 3 or 4, you know? But God reminds me of that so much because it's the simple stuff like you're talking about. I was so little, but he said, this is what you will do for the rest of your life, whether it's through clothing, whether it's through singing, whether it's through speaking, writing, whatever it may be, whether it's dancing, this is who you are, and this is what you will do. And so that is what gives me passion for all the things that I do, you know, is that I will tell the world what God has done for me. I will share my story of what he's done, and that I love him because he's loved me. And in this, you know, you lay your story out before you, and you can see all the ways that God has loved you from the beginning. Even through the hard stuff, even through the stuff that to our minds, it doesn't really make sense. God, why did I go through this? I don't have all the answers, but I can see that he loved me through that. He was with me. Somehow he made it so good, and he's using it now for my good. And every day, like he's just good, and he can't change that. You know, it's just who he is. So, what was your original question? I don't even remember now, but
couldn't tell you.
But yeah, so anyways, that's how I.
Okay, and then now, like, we'll kind of wrap it up. But what would be maybe one verse or like even a story that you've heard or an inspirational quote that you feel like has kind of just defined your entire, I don't know about identity, maybe your entire journey with God?
There's a couple.
As many
but
as you need.
The first one that came to my mind, I think it's Psalm like 16:2 or something like that. Maybe don't quote me on that part, but it says, "Oh my soul, you have said to the Lord, you are my Lord. My goodness is nothing apart from you." And I feel like that's been something that I've literally been on stage, you know, Laney freestyle, and I'm like, "Oh my soul, you have said to the Lord, you know, my goodness." Like it's something I'm like, God, I cannot do this without you. Apart from you, I can do nothing. You know, John 15:5 says, "Abide in me, and I in you. For apart from you, you can do nothing. You'll bear much fruit in me." And I know I've seen that when I try to do things on my own, I cannot do it. I fail miserably, and my way stinks. Like I need his help, you know? And so I feel like that is definitely something that I live by is Jesus, I can't do anything without you. I need your help. And I want your help. I want you in my every single day, my every moment. And then another one that came to my mind was Psalm 25.
You like the Psalms,
4 through 5.
don't you?
I really do. I love Psalms. But it says, like, show me the right path, O Lord. Point out the road for me to follow. Lead me by your truth and teach me. For you are the God who saves me. All day long, my hope is in you. And that's definitely something I remember, like, clinging to when I was young, you know, probably like 13 was the first time I read that. And then I had a friend that sent it to me, and I was like, okay, God, like, I see you want me to like plant my feet here. You want me to plant my feet in the fact that you're going to show me what to do. And all day long, I'm just to put my hope in you, you know? And so, yeah, those are some things I definitely go back to every day that no matter what it is I'm doing, walking through, I can't do it without you. And I want your help. So,
yeah, I love the part with the truth because that's what I'm learning. It's like, that's all that matters is the truth. Yeah. All right. 2 more questions. This is the planned part of the podcast.
That whole thing was unplanned.
Wild.
By us.
Thanks
planned
to you.
By us. Yeah.
True. So I think the other question is just, who would you say Laney Redmon is right now in your life? And I think you've already really answered this. It's like embracing the unknown, knowing that you're God's daughter. I'm putting your identity in you for you right now.
I would just say right now, I don't mean this to sound like over spiritual, but like I'm just his. I've been reading a lot and I still don't have it all figured out for sure, but about what it means to like be in him. And I'm trying to learn what that really is. But that's being his, you know, and I feel like no matter what I'm doing, it'll come from a place of being his daughter. And I want to do this life with him. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And then last question would just be, where can people find you on social media?
You
and
can
your
find
merch store and stuff.
Yeah. So you can go to laneyrenee.com and I have music on there, soon to be more music. And I have a line of jackets that is just, it's going to be released more really soon. So go check it out. And then you can find me just Laney Redmon on Instagram.
Cool.
And me and my friend have this social media page. If you dare, you can go to It's Sadie and Laney.
Oh, totally. Check that out. So funny.
Don't judge me after that. I'm glad you watched and listened to all of this before you go to that page. So yeah, that's where I'll be.
It's crazy because you're like half wild and half like really calm and like not collected necessarily, but like you have an inspirational message and all that stuff.
Thank you. I'm glad we made it through this whole thing being serious.
Well, we had a little fun.
We had some fun. Yeah.
Not a ton, but no. Thank you so much for coming on though.
Thank you for asking me. This
I'm
was
so
awesome.
glad you said let's do this unplanned. And like that was on my heart too, because when you said that, I was like, you know, I really feel like God is saying the same thing for me. Like, just let me speak through the conversation and quit trying to plan things out, Kira. Because I'm a planned person. You might not be, but I am.
Yeah. I like plans, but at the same time, I know that when I have a plan, if
it falls through.
It does. It usually falls through, and his plan is just better. So
true.
Yeah, I think it's fun to just kind of see what he does.
Yeah. But seriously, thank you for sharing your process and like what you're going through right now, but also like what you've already gone through. And everything.
Thank you for having me.
You have a lot to say.
I get excited to share.
Yeah.
People ask me like, how do you talk about Jesus? And I'm like, you talk about him like he's your best friend. Yeah. I have no trouble talking about my best friends. And when you're close to him, when you spend time with him, you can't help but talk about him because he's just that good. Yeah. So anytime I get to talk about him, I love it.
You can tell there's like no shade that you're throwing at him either. Like it's all just like, I'm excited to talk about Jesus.
Just
like that's it.
He's so great.
So cool.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So
seriously, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you want more inspiring content like what you heard today, you can head to our Patreon community, which is patreon.com/whatsyourlifejourney. Or you could also click the link in the description for that. And you can also hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate you for tuning in. See ya! Woo!